What if the most powerful thing a woman can do after heartbreak is begin again, without apology? I'm Tina Leigh, mom, dreamer, and proof that life after 50 is anything but boring. Dating Grace isn't your soft-focused fairy tale version of dating. If you're ready for messy, honest, and maybe a little wild, you're in the right place. This is Dating Grace by Tina Leigh. So here we are today, and I just want to thank you, Max, for joining me on my podcast. I know that this is not exactly in your comfort zone, and I greatly appreciate you taking the time to do this today, because I think we have an important story that we can share, and I think it's going to make people really realize how important, a true friend is and how much support that they bring when you're going through something really difficult in your life. And I would like to call this podcast Meeting Max, because meeting Max has been a life changer for me. And you're a lifelong friend. I value our friendship, and I value what you say to me, like in the times that, whether I'm struggling with something from my divorce. And I think what's really interesting is that I'm someone that's recently divorced, and you're someone that is now a caregiver for your wife. And there's just so many similarities between the two. And for us, of course, we had never met before. We happened to sit by each other in J. Alexander's in Cool Springs on like a cold January afternoon. And I think we just exchanged, some niceties. And before you know it, I'm spilling my guts to you. And in turn, you ended up sharing quite a few things about your life. And I think that now that I know you better, I think what I want to start by asking is, why did you feel comfortable to share some things about your life with me when I know that you're a very private person?
That's a great question, Tina. I think probably as much as anything, it was the glass of wine or two or three that we had sitting there at J. Alexander's. Just the idea of my sitting in a bar and striking up a conversation with somebody, which led to hearing your story, and then my self-disclosing my story was not in my wheelhouse at all. It was a unique experience, and I appreciate your attentiveness and listening skills and hearing what I had to say. And you were at the point where you were just coming out of this awful situation with your ex-husband, and it was a story that it resonated with me in a lot of ways. But so I didn't know when I left if we'd ever see each other again, and I inadvertently left my tax stuff sitting on the bar.
Yes.
And you got a hold of me and reminded me that I needed to come back and get that, and that kind of led to swapping phone numbers and seeing each other again. So it's been a great friendship for me, and
me as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a big age difference, but like you said, there are some similarities between divorce and becoming a caregiver, and we've shared that between us over the last year.
I think that when you are going through difficult seasons in life, whether it is, a divorce in my case or a caregiver for you, what's important is that, you're so vulnerable in different ways, and that you really need someone to meet you with compassion and someone that's going to be a good listener. And you've been the same for me. You've listened to all the things that I've shared in terms of, as wild as some of the twists and turns have been with my divorce, to dating drama. I mean, to I don't know. Gosh, my mom passed away. That was very devastating. You were someone again that I could lean on, and you definitely took the time and had such a sweet way about you that allowed me to share some really hard things with you. And I think that knowing that somebody is a safe space, a safe person to share with, that you're not being judged, that you are being seen, you are being heard, that those are the things that really help you through these difficult times.
No question about it.
Yeah. And I think that what I find interesting is you touched on, obviously there is like a gap in like generation or whatever, but I think that people shouldn't automatically assume that just because someone is older or somebody is younger, that you don't have things in common. And like you said, I mean, with somebody that's newly divorced and with a caregiver, there's a lot of similarities and common ground there in terms of how you feel. And if there's even times of loneliness and definitely being on like an emotional roller coaster and not really sure what all is coming next. I think that when you're able to share that with somebody else, you know, they're, like I said, I mean, who's to say who should be friends and who shouldn't be friends? And that, you know, there are these things that really do tie us together and that have allowed us to have a strong friendship. And in my mind, you're a lifelong friend. And I think that what happened that very first day was that we made an agreement that we would try to have lunch once a week. And that lunch appointment has become like a therapy session for me.
Right.
You've really become somebody that I can trust with all of my feelings, my emotions. Again, I don't feel judged. I feel like I can say whatever it is I want to say, even if I'm dropping some F-bombs and, you know, whatever the situation is. But you just take it all in stride and you hear me out and we work through issues and problems together. And I always definitely appreciate as well as incorporate your advice into what's going on with me on a regular basis.
I'll right back to you for sure.
Let's be honest, starting over is awkward. Whether it's a breakup, a burnout, or just that feeling of what am I even doing anymore? We've all been there. You want to feel confident again, but you also want to hide under the covers with reality TV and carbs. That's where Dating Grace comes in. I'm Tina Leigh, and I help people rebuild from wherever they are. No rules, no shame, just real conversation and small, meaningful steps forward. Through one-on-one coaching and community, we'll work on everything from self-trust to dating again to remembering what makes you feel like you. Book your free 15-minute consultation at datinggracebytinalee.com. That's Dating Grace by Tina Leigh, TINALEIGH.com, and let's get you back to feeling good again, one honest laugh at a time. What would you say in terms of like our friendship and meeting once a week? What has that done for you in terms of like the things that you have been going through with your wife? And she was recently sick and in the hospital for quite some time. And then coming back home, I know hasn't been easy for you.
Yeah. I mean, my journey with being a caregiver started 2.5 years ago. I was out in the middle of nowhere backpacking and came out of the woods and had all these different messages. One from my wife. She had checked herself into Williamson County Hospital and was there in the ICU. And I was couple hours away from Nashville and hurried home. And so the first diagnosis that she got was that she had something called emphysema, which is just essentially where you can't effectively breathe without some help. And then like about a month after that, she was diagnosed with throat cancer and had to have surgery and then treatment through chemotherapy and radiation. It was really seems like it was a year where she was going through all of that. And so the result of that, our family lives 400 or 500 miles away from us. And so I've become the support person for our marriage for little itty bitty things and big things.
Yes.
So,
and let me also add, you're definitely her advocate when she is at a doctor's appointment or if she's in the hospital. And that's a big role to take on as well.
Yeah. So your question was, what does it meant for me to share my story with somebody? And this meant the world to me. I'm essentially a very private person, and am not prone to discussing things like that with anybody. And for, I think, some inexplicable reason, I was really comfortable talking with you about it. Maybe initially it was that I simply didn't even know you. And I knew that I could get up out of the bar stool, walk away, and never see you again. That didn't happen, but I think maybe initially that was the reason that I told you about my story. Yeah, so being a private person has meant for me, I don't share my story with many people. So you've become this weekly commitment. You've been a real source for me to tell somebody about my life. One thing that happens when you're a couple and one becomes a caregiver and the other the person that needs help is the couple friends that you had along the way seem to drop off. And there may be some similarities with a divorce situation where that happens too. And so all of a sudden the common bond that you and another couple had isn't there anymore. And so the thing that happened to us was it wasn't long after I retired that Lynn got sick. And so the friendships that we had developed just frittered away. And I pretty much had handled things on my own and by myself for a long time. So, yeah.
How do you feel if you actually do take time for yourself to do something like go on a hike? Does that make you feel selfish in any way? Or are you understanding that it is important for you to still do those things because it fills your cup, which in turn, then you're a better caregiver, a better husband?
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated. I sure can't say over the last 2.5 years that I haven't looked at my backpacking equipment and thought I'd sure love to have that on my back. But for the most part, I mean, I accept the situation that I'm in with a fair amount of cheer. I'm not an overly religious person, but I after 52 years of marriage, I remember the vows that we made so long ago, and one of them being that one would take care of the other.
Yes.
And that's resonated with me.
One word that has come out a lot when we've had discussions about just whatever's going on with Lynn is that you always say, I am dedicated to her. I'm dedicated to this. And I think that clearly speaks to your marriage vows, and that you you're living them. And
absolutely. And it's not being a martyr man. It just simply is. And if the tables were turned, I'm confident that she would have the same level of commitment.
I believe that as
to
well.
me. And so it's part of life. It's to some extent part of getting older. As we all march through our lives, we simply never know what's around the corner. And I think about you and your story of getting out of the shower and getting dried off, and your husband saying that your marriage is over.
Yeah.
Obviously a lot different than me coming out of the woods and getting a phone message that my wife was ill. So, yeah.
So after over 50 years of marriage, of course, there are highs and lows throughout a relationship, especially, a marriage that long. Was there ever a time that you or Lynn ever considered getting a divorce?
There really never was. I mean, obviously we had disagreements, but for our time together, I mean, even when things were rocky, we stuck by each other and made a life for ourselves. Yeah.
I think you have a lot to be proud of, and that's going to lead me to this next question. What are you most proud of when it comes to your marriage?
I'm proud that we've sustained a strong relationship for as long as we have. I'm proud that we as a team raised two wonderful children who have their own lives, yes, independent of us, and are building their own way of living. In some respects, I'm glad that they're 400 or 500 miles away from us, because they've got their own lives to lead, and we've got ours. So,
how much have you shared with your children about Lynn's current state, or even over the last 2.5 years when she's been in and out of the hospital? Is that something that you kind of give them a full update of everything that has happened, or do you kind of pick and choose the...
Yes and no. I mean, I've particularly when she was diagnosed with these different diseases and surgery and all of that, I was in touch with them, if not daily, every other day. For the last year or so, it hadn't been like a lot of detail, but they understand that Lynn is just simply not able to get around very well, and that it's affected our life.
Yeah.
And both have offered to come over. In fact, my daughter and her husband did come over about a year ago, and my son wants to come over soon. So, but I mean, we don't have a we talk every day type of relationship, but we're in touch.
Do you ever feel that that you're missing out on something in life because of the circumstance of being a caregiver?
Well, yes and no. I mean, if you commit to being a caregiver, and in my case, it's a 7-day-a-week
24/7
job, if you will. I'm able to get out of the house and go to the grocery store and go have lunch with you and go do stuff. But I've got to be on call, and I've got to fix the meals, and got to get her to and from the toilet. So it's a job that doesn't stop. But so when as a human being, I can't help but think what our life would have been like, but for all of this. But at least from my perspective, I accept it as being
right.
reality.
Well, again, I think it's your dedication and your love for her.
Yeah.
And it's unwavering. Kind of leads me to want to know, though, what is your biggest fear when it comes to just where things currently are in your life and in Lynn's life?
Well, my biggest fear would be losing Lynn. On a day-to-day basis, my fear is her health, and the frustrations that most of us experience with dealing with the different people in the medical profession. Life's a funny thing, Tina, and
it sure is.
Not knowing what's around the corner.
That's right.
In one way, it's intriguing. In another way, it's scary.
Yeah.
Every now and then, I start thinking, like, what would I do if Lynn were to die? And sometimes I start planning that in some sort of a vague way, but there's really no point. I mean, because I don't know what I'd end up doing. I don't have a plan. My plan is to take it day by day.
Yeah.
And take care of her.
I feel the same in terms of taking life day by day.
Yeah.
Right now, I think that's been the most manageable way for me to handle my circumstance, because if I looked at the whole picture, it was just too overwhelming too many times. And day by day, you can work towards different goals. I've definitely found myself, I guess, leaning more towards hobbies and things that maybe I kind of left off to the side and didn't do for a while. And that's how it helped me come back into a community and to make new friends as well. And I think that, hobbies, interest, all of those are great ways, even for you now, to start, laying groundwork for just that you have something to fall back on, that it's things that you really enjoy doing, if things get really dicey with Lynn's situation. Right. I think that also knowing that I can count on you, that's provided me great comfort as well, that you are there to talk to. And I hope that, I provide comfort to you as well. I do know that I was in a very different place last January when I met you than I am now. How would you describe the difference between that person I was in January to the person that I am now?
The person that I met in January was wound up, indecisive, hurt, trying to get your head up off the pillow, I felt. And if you fast forward to October, I think that you've got some goals, some exciting parts of your future. You've aggressively reached out to date, which would be a scary thing for sure. I know some of your experiences in that area.
Max would be like, nah, not that one.
Yeah. Dating Grace, I think, is exciting, and your excitement's contagious. I'm confident that it's going to go where you want to take it.
Well, thank you.
And I mean it. And yeah. So yeah, I mean you've had a lot going on, and you seem more stable and more on the ground than you did when I first met you.
I think that's very, very true. And I think that, things need time, and you need time to heal. And I think that that's also one of the biggest differences between last January and present day, is that I have had a lot of time to heal, and that I've been able to take time for myself and figure out who I am again. Where, like I mentioned to you before, that, I feel like at so many points in my marriage, I was just kind of lost in it. And coming out on the other side and realizing that, what, I'm only 51. I'm definitely not planning on going anywhere soon. And I need to figure out what it is that I want to do, and that I want to be successful, that I want something, for myself, especially as someone that's newly divorced. And you were the first person I told about dating Grace. And we sat down at lunch, and I had a little a business plan, if you will. It was very rough, but you could tell that I had put some thought and time into it. And you listened very patiently to everything that I was saying and describing. And it's been something to see that I did put it down on paper. I did put it out to the universe. I talked about it with you, and things are happening. And here we sit on a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought?
Not me.
My bestie. Here we sit. It has been nothing but a pleasure to get to know you better. And like I said, I think the world of you, and I lean on you. I lean on our lunches because they are therapeutic for me. And I am just so grateful that we happen to sit beside each other.
Well, right back
on
to
that
Tina.
cold January day.
It's been a blessing for me, for sure.
And I think that there's so much grace that is involved. And I'm just curious, are you somebody that gives yourself grace, especially through some of these harder times?
Yeah, I don't know that I think about it as being grace. It's just simply, this is where I'm at right now, and I accept it, and I'm happy with my life. One of the questions you asked me was about fears, and I did leave out one of my fears is my own health, because if it's just your wife and me, my wife and me, and if something were to happen to me, I don't know what we'd do. We don't have a plan for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I do my best to stay healthy and in good shape, and pray for health for me. So, yeah.
I think that so having faith and trust, knowing that even when it seems like some situations just won't work out, somehow God does put things in place, and everything is okay.
He does. And I have peace. I have peace with my situation, and peace that I'm doing a good job taking care of Lynn. And that's my place in life right now. So,
well, you're doing more than a good job. And I think that it's important to recognize people's efforts and, what they're going through on a daily basis, and really say, you know what, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
I think it's important to hear that.
Yeah.
And I know that you have made me feel that way, especially when it comes to dating Grace. And it's something that just keeps evolving. And I think that it would be nice to have you on the show again, maybe say a year from now. And I think that it's always interesting to just see how things have progressed along the way. And I think we're going to have many more stories to share as our friendship grows.
I'll commit to another year and do that.
Okay, Max. Well, again, thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Tina.
You're a bright light in my life, and I'm grateful to have you. And today's been very special recording this with you.
Right back to
meeting Max.
Thanks for having me.
So
I wouldn't have done this.
Thank goodness for meeting Max. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is for the hurt. This is for the healing. This is Dating Grace by Tina Leigh.